So
What'd you
yeah,
get
man.
from
All
it?
right. So we've been working together for about 4 years. Obviously, you made a crazy amount of progress since then. I've posted a lot of your lifts, especially, but I think that what's more important to highlight is, I mean, how you feel, right? And like how that stuff is like permeated into the other aspects of your life. Because it's one thing to like get stronger and bigger or leaner or whatever it is, but then it's another thing to, actually get tangible benefits in other parts of your life from that. So, like before we started working together, dude, what do you think was like the biggest problem you were facing in your life or the biggest problems? Like, at
Um,
home, gym, your job, whatever it is. Like, what was what were some things you were frustrated about?
yeah, I was actually coming out of a almost 10-year career in the firearms industry, where I bounced around to a lot of different jobs and did a lot of stuff. I kind of was trying to have a successful career in that aspect and pushed pretty hard for a long time to the neglect of my health and spiritual health and all other aspects of my life. I was trying to go really hard at that. And it didn't work out. I ended up moving back to my hometown. And worked in my family's business. I grew up. My dad's a business owner, and we have a retail garden center. I worked there for a while, and still was trying to figure out like what I was supposed to do with my life. And I was pretty directionless. I had no like serious goals. I had no direction. So the biggest thing I lacked was all around was like direction. Like where do I go? What do I do? And I realized after that kind of first season, it's a fairly physical job relatively. And I'm, in my mid 30s. So I was like, I shouldn't be out of shape. I shouldn't be this tired. And I really was. And I was like, I need to do something about this. And I'd been kind of poking around on social media. And I don't know how I came across you at one point, but I started following you before I started training with you. And I was like, this guy's legit. Like he's jacked and like does training, and maybe I should try that. And I should go back to the gym. I used to be in shape, but I'm not anymore. And I just kind of pulled the trigger and was like, I'll just go all in on this and see how it goes.
So would you say that
Uh,
like the biggest thing that you were, concerned with solving was just kind of like in general your sense of direction? And it sounded like you sort of realized that the fitness aspect of your life was some sort of like, I guess, catalyst that had to happen or like the vehicle to making everything better.
yeah, there was definitely something missing, and that was one of the indicators like tied together. Every man that I saw that had like some of the things that I want in my life was in shape and trained and talked about their training and was like active in pursuing fitness goals, which aligned with some of their personal goals. And so I was like, okay, there's got to be something there. I should go after that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. I talk about that all the time. And like I train a handful of guys who are, pretty successful entrepreneurs like in the business world and stuff like that. And one of the common threads is always that at least they're interested in fitness or understand the importance of it. And I mean, that's why I do it, right? That's why I think it's such a big deal. It's not just because of like, the initial or like surface level benefits of being in shape, but it's more about it being like, I guess like an allegory for everything else that you do, right? Like if you're in shape and you're taking that stuff seriously and you're training in like this regimented way, then you kind of start living your life in sort of a regimented way too, you know?
Well, one of the things you hit on quite a bit is like your physique is your calling card. It's the first impression you make with people, how you present yourself. And one, it's like how your body is built, and two, how you dress and like how your hygiene is and everything. But really, like you can't just like clean yourself up real quick and look good if you're sloppy and out of shape, right? And so one thing I've noticed over the past several years, the better my physique has gotten, the more in shape I've gotten, the more confidence I have, the better posture I have, the more seriously people take me. I mean, when you tell someone something about a product, or you're talking in a position of authority about whatever subject is that you're working in. For me, it's landscape, ornamental plants, and gardening. And I tell someone they need to do this, or they need to consider this extra thing, or they need to do this to be successful. I found recently, within the last several years, they take me much more seriously
Isn't that
than
funny?
they
Even when
did
it's something
before.
that's like totally unrelated to what they're doing, it's still,
Oh yeah.
there's just this kind of like what I call the law of the jungle, right? It's like if you look like you take yourself more seriously, then everybody has more trust and faith in the things that you say.
Mhm. Yeah, and we don't do the whole thing. I don't try and upsell some of the bunch of stuff that they're not going to need, but I have several additional things I try and encourage customers to get that will help, whatever it is they're trying to do, get a tree established or grow better tomatoes or whatever it is they're trying to do. But it's an extra cost, I need them to spend to buy this thing. And yeah, that makes us more money, but I know it's a benefit. And when I tell them that, I explain it. And usually 95% of the time I get no pushback, and they usually get it.
Do you
no
think it's
problem.
because they're like, hey, this guy can grow his quads, so he can probably grow a tomato?
Yeah, 100%. It's like, look at his delts. He definitely knows what he's doing. Those things look like tomatoes.
Was that, yeah, your delts? Instead of softballs, it's tomato delts.
Oh, yeah, something
Was
like
there
that.
like a specific moment or like some kind of realization you had where you're like, dude, I need to make a change like now? Like something you think of where it was like, okay, like this is something I need to start taking more seriously.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't like a lightning bolt like one day, but it was in the course of just a couple weeks, maybe at the end of my first season there. I was again lacking direction. I was kind of watching fitness content, and then like I was recalling my time in the military when I was in shape, and I'm like, well, I used to be in shape when I was in my 20s. Like, why shouldn't I do that now? And it's like I need to do something about it, and it was watching your content, and then you had put some post up, saying you're accepting clients, and I was like, well, I should just do this, but it costs money. There's an investment you got to put into that, and I'm reluctant to spend money on something and like not pursue it with everything I've got. So like I was like, well, if I'm gonna spend the money on a gym membership, I'm gonna spend money on professional coaching, like I'm just gonna do it. And that was the commitment. Like I don't know, there was just a decision I made that like I'm gonna go all in on this, and I'm just gonna do it. And that was that. I mean, I won't lie. Like the first probably 3 weeks or so of like training with you, I was not from going from nothing to going to a full-time training schedule was like pretty rough. I mean, like you feel sore.
I threw you in the
Like,
deep end for sure, but you
yeah,
wanted it.
yeah. I felt beat up, but like you get past that, it goes away. You learn your body recovers. Learns to fix itself pretty quickly. And then you helped a lot with dialing in lifestyle factors too, whether it was nutrition and talking about sleep conditions and all that kind of stuff I didn't really think about, and supplementation and all this kind of stuff. And so once I started to kind of fine tune all of that, it got better and better.
Yeah, something you really touched on that I really liked was about kind of this like burning the ships thing where you were like, hey, I'm gonna like spend this money and commit this amount of time to commit to making myself better, because if I don't, then I just like wasted that money or wasted that time. And I think that that's a common thread among people who are successful at stuff is they make kind of like a do or die type decision, right? Like the analogy that I'll use is like if somebody dropped you off at the top of Mount Everest, you're either going to get down or you're going to die. And so sometimes you need to do that to yourself to make yourself commit to something. You have to set yourself up in like a do or die kind of situation. And that's something that I've noticed a lot about people who are successful just in anything is they sort of like took a risk. I guess it's like a calculated risk to force themselves to do something. Whereas a lot of people are they're fearful and hesitant, and that's why they kind of just stay stuck where they are.
Like I see some guys sometimes talking like, well, I need an accountability partner. I need somebody to help motivate me. I was like, that's not it, man.
You got to go all in on that identity
You got to go
shift.
all in on it. You got to make the decision yourself to do this. Like we can be there with you, and you can train, and I'll encourage you and all that stuff. But it's like you got to go. You got to make the decision yourself that you're going to do it.
Totally. So
you're not going to skip sessions. You're not going to
Go ahead.
No, that was it.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page there. That's definitely something that like I think is a common thread, like I said, among people who actually make long-term changes as opposed to people who like go to the gym for a few months and fall off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So paint a picture for me of like kind of, I guess, what your day was like, or like how you kind of felt before we started training as far as like energy level, confidence, and that kind of stuff goes, like before we actually got into working together.
Oh man, it was low. I would work like 8 o'clock to 6 p.m. every day, but be up, an hour or so before that. I didn't really eat breakfast. I would just like roll out of bed and like get an energy drink and go into work. And that's not good. And energy levels were low throughout the day, and then come home and just crash, stay up too late, play video games, doom scroll, and basically like listless. So sleep was terrible. Energy levels were bad. That's what I thought. I was like thinking like, man, if I start doing this working out, like I'm going to be even more tired. That's not the case either.
Totally.
You increase your capacity and your energy levels, shoot up. I mean, your body will adapt pretty easily. So, I mean, the change, even after just a couple of weeks, was like night and day.
Were you thinking like, was there anything you were like afraid of happening if you didn't make a change, like kind of the trajectory of your life? Like you're like, man, if I don't start taking something seriously, like things are going to keep getting worse.
Yeah, I was afraid to turn into like an obese loser.
Yeah, like most people.
I mean, that would be like my worst nightmare. Is that like, I have that vision of myself when I was younger, and I was, I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I was in shape. I looked good in my uniform. I was squared away. I had a purpose, all this kind of stuff. And then I was worried that I was letting myself go. I let myself go and let myself go, and farther. You can see that slope just kind of goes, and you can let yourself slide. And all of a sudden, you're 15 years later, you're 350 pounds. You have knee, back, and pain all over your body. You can't hardly walk 100 steps without being out of breath, anything like that. And that was like my worst nightmare. And I'm like,
being the average American.
Yeah. I can't allow that to happen. No way, man.
Yeah.
So I saw myself like having to buy, like, every couple of years you have to go up a slight size in your pants, but it feels like you're not doing it. Like, oh, it's not getting that much bigger, but you're like, okay, this has got to stop.
Incrementally getting worse.
Yeah.
So
and that's
what
the thing,
made you,
you don't get like that overnight, but all of a sudden you wake up 10 years later and you're like unable to do it. And it just gets harder. The farther you go, the harder it gets. Like,
the older you get, the harder it gets to get back to where you were.
Yeah. I'm not going to allow myself to be that, like, 70-year-old dude that hobbles around and has constant pain all over the place and needs help to do anything. That's not going to be me.
And it doesn't have to be. I mean, like, I've got guys who are in their 60s that are crushing it, dude. Like Kurt, who's doing like sets of 20 pull-ups and stuff. Like,
yeah, he's my hero. He's my hero, man.
Yeah, I think that guy's a lot of people's heroes. So what made you decide to like work with me specifically as opposed to any other coach that was out there? Because obviously there's a lot of options when it comes to fitness.
Yeah, I mean, your content was pretty tactical based, and I'm into that kind of stuff. And so you were doing a lot of like shooting content. You're pretty based in terms of like personal opinions and stuff like that. And that was kind of catchy to me. Yeah. And so I was like, all right, this guy seems like pretty locked in.
This guy's been banned enough that I trust him.
He's on at least his 5th Instagram account. So I think he's good.
That really is like the litmus of trust.
Yeah, 100%. And so, yeah, I guess what stuck out to me was your assertiveness, and like, you're not afraid to call things like you see them and like they really are. A lot of guys try and dance around it and make people feel good, and you just don't have any time for that. And that was like, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, I like that. That's totally true, because there are a lot of trainers out there that are just like, oh, do a better job next week. Like, let's go. And, they're kind of permissive. And then that's, people don't make progress that way, because you're basically just allowing them to live the way they were living before. Whereas like if they hire you, it's because they want to make a change.
Yeah.
So what do you think the hardest part about sort of committing to the program or working with me was, and like, how did you overcome that?
Hardest part was reworking like my day-to-day schedule. I mean, getting into the routine of doing things, finding out what the best time for me to train that works with other things I'm doing in my life. You got to make time for other relationships. I put a huge priority and a huge importance on my Catholic faith. So fitting in whatever type of devotionals work I do during the week, or, I make time for daily mass and things like that. But placing a very high priority on my training, and it kind of all fell together over the course of a couple of months and figured it out pretty easily.
Yeah, like when you start training like that, like with that schedule and that regimentation and filling in the logs and stuff like that, I feel like it's a lot easier just to be disciplined everywhere else too.
Yeah. Once you figure out like, okay, I'm training today, like that's what I'm doing when I like train the evenings. So I go after work. And so I just know, like, you bring a gym bag in the truck with you in the morning, and I know that as soon as I leave, I just go straight to the gym.
Yeah. You set yourself up for it.
There's no negotiation. There's no like, well, I'll stop by home real quick and get this thing. It's like, nope, we're just going to go straight there.
Yeah. And you were setting yourself up for success. And that's the biggest thing, is like a lot of people, they don't prep their meals, they don't bring their gym clothes or whatever, and that kind of like gives them an out.
Mm-hmm.
Was there like a specific moment in our training where you felt like you kind of like broke through some kind of like barrier, whether that was, mental or physical, where you were like, like maybe there was a certain exercise or just kind of something going through your head where you were like, okay, like I'm in it now. Like I've actually like, started to make a specific change.
Yeah. It was the first time I deadlifted over 400 pounds.
Yeah.
I still remember it. It was like a day you had me do like it was like a 3x3 at like 360 or 380 something. And I was like, all right, I got that. I was like, I've never done 4 plates. So I'm just going to throw it on there and see if I can do it. And I did it. It was like easy. I was like, oh man,
it's legit.
Like, this is it. I'm here.
Yeah.
Like,
I like that. I mean, I'm a stickler for the programming, dude, but if somebody's feeling good and they're like ready to take it to the next level in that training session, I like it when guys do that, as long as it's done in like a safe way. And I mean, you have great technique and stuff and good body awareness. So when you do stuff like that, I totally trust that you're able to discern that.
Like a big thing for me, obviously, my job's pretty physical, and I try to be an asset to my dad's business. And it is important to me to not get hurt. And like we discussed that all throughout my time training with you. And so, I never felt like you were overloading me with too much work or too much volume or anything like that. You know what I can handle, and we've got dialed it in over the last few years. And
Mhm.
I never felt like I was unable to recover from anything. Now I'm like not ancient. I'm not like elderly, but I'm older, and I've had some like training issues that come up, back problems, and I'm dealing with a shoulder thing right now. But those are things that happen, and we work around it. And it's not something like if you're training and you're not like aware of it, and you like injure yourself or you get hurt, you can put yourself out for a decent amount of time. But you can also like mentally get into a place where like I'm never going to recover from this, and then all of a sudden you're like that guy that he used to lift but he has back problems now. But
Right.
those type of things are like way more easy to overcome than most folks think. I've even run into people that locally around here that train or like used to train. They're like, oh, I hurt myself. I'm like, you like that sounds similar like what happened to my back. Like you can heal from that. I healed from that, in like 8 months. I mean, I'm not saying like I was unable to lift. I still trained during that time. You just adjust your training, and I saw a physical therapist, and we worked around it, and we did other stuff that strengthened those areas where they were weak, and I came back from it stronger. So it's like that doesn't compute to me of like all of a sudden you have some issue come up and you just stop training. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I totally agree. And a lot of the, orthopedic problems that people have are solved with training. Like there's a lot of people who've come to me who they're like, well, I have a bad back, so I can't do this, this, and this. I can't do deadlifts. And like, then I get them doing deadlifts, and now their back actually feels better. Because it's like,
Yeah,
well,
dude.
it's like you have this problem because your back is weak, dude. Like you're weak as a
Yeah.
bird. That's why everything hurts.
Dude, well, let's make it stronger. And all of a sudden, like everything is fixed and you feel great. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, okay.
Yeah. Strengthen the structures around it. So kind of getting into more, I guess, like the lifestyle changes, like how do you think the sort of structure and discipline of the way that we train impacted other parts of your life outside of the gym?
I mean, it's transformative is the way I'll say it. Honestly, like, I don't recognize the person that I was when I first started training with you. That guy is dead. He's gone. And, physically, like emotionally, like uh, my temper. I used to have a problem with like anger and this kind of stuff, and I've tempered that really, really well. Spiritually, I came back to my Catholic faith, and that was not in small part to you being open about yours, and kind of me realizing like, okay, this is another aspect of my life where I'm seriously lacking. I need to address in a real way. Um, all those things pulled together in a way, and it all kind of came through the fact that I was trying to improve myself physically through strength training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it, man.
I mean, I can't zero in on one thing that improved because everything improved.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so then going back to like kind of how like your body is your business card kind of thing, were there any specific instances or maybe just like general things where you noticed that people started like, you know, interacting with you a little bit differently based on like how you carried yourself or how you looked or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I would have people, come to me asking me for advice, not just on like physical training, but on personal issues they were having in various aspects of their life, asking for my perspective on things. Like I mentioned, I people take you a lot more seriously when I tell someone my opinion on something or what I think they should do, or give them information about a topic that I have some knowledge on. They tend to take me much more seriously and just take me, don't really question it at all. And if they do question it, I'm able to back that up with whatever knowledge that I have. And it's
Well,
not
like we
never
said, it's
really
like when
been
you
an
have that
issue.
command presence, people just start kind of naturally seeing you as somebody who, I don't know, like have the answers is the right word, but they just like trust the way that the way that you view things because they
Oh yeah.
understand that like you just take everything seriously.
Yeah. A friend of mine I knew for years, we got together at this parish social event at they have an annual like fundraiser thing. It's a big party, and we're Catholic, so we drink beer, right? And he stands around, and he was talking. He's like, "You got in really good shape, man. Like, what do you do?" I told him about training, and I'm in my late 30s now. I started hormone replacement therapy like a year and a half ago or so, and he was asking about that. I'm like, "Yeah, you like when's the last time you went to the doctor?" He's like, "Oh, I was like, you really should go get a physical done. It's like, it's something that men like us like are bad at. And a lot of guys are afraid to go to the doctor, and you need to stop being afraid. You need to go understand what's going on with your body. So if you want to make a change, you need to understand what's going on. It's like going to the mechanic and getting a diagnosis. So go to the doctor, get blood work done. Go to someone that specializes in hormones and figure out what's going on with that. Because there's a lot of things you can do lifestyle wise to affect that in a positive way. But sometimes with environmental factors, the way they are in the modern world, you may need to look at pharmaceutical intervention. It's not for everyone, but a lot of guys it has helped in a huge way, me being one of them.
Yeah, I think it's important to be open about that stuff. I talk about it all the time. And, I don't see like TRT and stuff like that as a negative thing. I just see it as leveraging technology, just like anything else. If you're sick, you correct it. There's some strange stigma around it for some reason. I think obviously cultural, like the history of, steroid use and stuff like that in sports and kind of just that cultural perception. But obviously, if you have a problem, you should correct it. And sometimes you can correct that through lifestyle stuff, but sometimes you can't because we live in this like toxic world, man. Like we're full of microplastics, bro. I mean, some people just, some people just aren't going to recover no matter how much, they sun their gooch or steak they eat. Like it's just, sometimes you just have to have that hormonal support to make yourself healthy, and then you can reap the benefits from it.
Yeah. And like one of the things you just recently added on was like, hey, look at your hematocrit and look at your ferritin levels, like iron, total like iron panel and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm addressing those things now, and it actually has improved quite a bit. Like energy levels were dipping, and then I got an iron panel done and realized like my ferritin was low, and I'm like, well, why is that? And then luckily the place I go actually does like iron infusion treatments, and I was able to get that done. And it's like those little things, and like giving blood because your hematocrit's high and your blood pressure can be a little high. But that was the other thing when I told people I was on TRT, they're like, oh, that's going to make your cholesterol really high and your blood pressure is out of control. I was like, actually, my levels were high, my blood pressure was high, and my cholesterol was high. The LDL HDL ratio was off and weird. And then when I got on TRT after 6 months, like everything normalized, and I'm like I'm still consistently like, 179 over 81 or 120 over 80. I'm like right in the middle of perfect blood pressure, like almost all the time.
Yeah. I mean, you're making yourself hormonally healthy, and the rest of your body finds that homeostasis. And sometimes it's a little bit of a delicate dance, right? Especially with stuff like ferritin, because, donating blood and being on TRT and training can deplete that. And one of the things that I've talked about is, and from when I was posting about ferritin, was that you don't absorb as much iron, or you don't bind as much iron to ferritin when you're on an androgen. And then when you donate blood, it's kind of a double whammy. So it's something you have to correct. But it sounds like you've sort of taken that more seriously and gotten that dialed in. So yeah, of course, there's going to be considerations and stuff like that, but it's still night and day better than having like a 200 level test.
Yeah, 100%. This is one of those puzzle pieces that guys are going to put together once you start training. Like I trained for, I think it was like 2 years or something like that before I considered this as an option. I did lots of different supplementation routines and tried to raise levels naturally. There's a supplement from Gorilla Mind called Sigma that's like it's sold as a natural testosterone booster. And it did make a bump, but like a little blip compared to what the exogenous hormones does. And there's obviously, you're very well versed in this, and can, even though you're not a doctor, you can talk from real experience and from all the clients you have that may use this type of treatment to understand like how to effectively employ this as a net positive throughout your life.
Yeah, because you could have the best training system in the world, the best nutrition in the world, but if you're not hormonally healthy, like very little is going to happen. So it's definitely,
you won't recover as well. You won't be able to handle as much volume. You won't get as much benefit out of your training. And that's not the only reason why I do this. Like the side benefit is the gains you get and the improvement in your physique, but like the overall outside the gym lifestyle improvements you get from optimizing your hormones is like not insignificant. It's like significant. It's like,
well, it allowed the training to be more effective, because like when we first started, remember your 1RM bench was like 185, and then what was your best? It was like 365 for 3 or 365 for 5.
I've hit 350 for 3. Yeah.
Okay, that was what it is. Yeah. So I mean, that's
an
insane difference. Yeah. Well, we're working around that, but deadlift, where's that gone?
I hit 510 for 3.
That was pretty recent.
That was recent. I hit 525 for a single on the barbell. I hit 550 for 4 on the trap bar deadlift. It's really good. And then squatting, I was doing a lot of SSB squatting, a lot of Zercher squatting, stuff like that. And then recently, it was one day wanted me to work up to a single, and I hit 465 for a single, which is pretty good. Like
Amazing, dude.
I want that 500-pound squat. That's like a cool number to hit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right around the corner for you, dude, especially because of how strong you got in the SSB.
Yeah. So that particular bar, I think for my build and my squat, like really, especially with a history of having back issues, really has strengthened my core. It's helped me stay in a good position. It made the straight barbell squat feel like way lighter, noticeably.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of it, man. I think that every gym should have a safety squat bar. And I think maybe like the name of the device makes it sound like it's not as effective because it's like safety squat. So it sounds like a handicap, but it's actually, it might be safer, but it's actually way harder to squat with an SSB.
It's way harder. Especially if you get the higher reps at a decent load, 80% or more, like you can feel like you're getting folded in half, man.
It's brutal, but I feel it more in my quads. Like it feels more like a squat to me as opposed to like the back squat, which feels almost like a good morning or a hinge sometimes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said you were a little bit hesitant at the start, like you were hesitant to like, you know, either sign up with me or get back in the gym and start taking that seriously. So like, what would you say to somebody else who was hesitant to work with me as a coach, or even just like hesitant to kind of take that plunge and start, you know, making that identity shift to get in shape and start taking their training seriously?
That's a good question.
Other than just like, you know, stop being a pussy and do it.
I mean, that's like my first reaction.
That might just be the answer.
That is like the simple answer. Like that's the first thing I'd probably say. And I'd say, look, man, what is it that you want out of your life? You know, and have them kind of Socratically pull it out of them. And what is it you want out of your life? Okay, so you want to achieve these things, right? And so how do you achieve that? You gotta present a package to people that they want to interact with you on that level, or whatever it is you want to achieve, right? And one of the key pieces in that is getting yourself in shape. And you have kids, okay? You might have kids, or you have grandkids, or you want to someday, right? How do you want to be a burden on them, or do you want to be an asset to your family? Like we as men need to be protectors and providers. That's our duty as men, especially as husbands and fathers. And you know, you can't do that being out of shape on the couch watching football and eating Cheetos every night. Okay, you can't do that.
Yeah, you can't be the best father or spouse. And it's like, what example are you setting for the kids? And I love that you touch on that, because a lot of my clients are dads. And one of the big reasons that they start training with me is because, you know, they realize like, hey, I need to be the best version of myself for my family, not just for longevity, but also just because like, hey, what attributes do you want your kids to see? Do they want to see the dad that's eating Cheetos on the couch watching football? Or do they want to see the dad that's like taking himself seriously? And I like that you're talking about how it's more than just the fitness, because that really is the biggest benefit, dude. It's like it's just how it makes you move in the world when you are, you know, taking your training more seriously. Like when you're, you know, approaching a difficult set and grinding through something that's really hard. It's like if you can grind through, you know, a super heavy squat, set of 10 squats, that's going to make it a lot easier, or just like kind of make your personality more likely to like be able to grind through something difficult in other aspects of life too. It's sort of like a personality shift.
Yeah, I see physical strength in fitness tied together with my faith, and the fact that, you know, my goals with strength and conditioning and my physique and everything are all oriented towards service versus my own like personal desires to be like the most jacked Chad guy. That's just kind of a side effect of it. But
yeah, your motives are not vain.
I want to be in good shape and strong to be of service to my family, to my community, not just to look a certain way or to present an intimidating package to people. Like if you look at the outside of that and consider your duty as a man and orient your goals towards service and sacrifice and providing for others, like that is an outside motivator that is much bigger than anything you can put inside yourself. And I think that will drive you forward to stick with it and to make the commitment and stay disciplined.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of the times guys have this like dad guilt where they're afraid of like spending time or money on themselves, or like, taking their training seriously, going to the gym, and they feel like that's something they're like taking away from their family. They feel like it's selfish, but they don't realize that, again, like you can't be the best spouse or the best father unless you are taking care of yourself mentally and physically.
And your training sessions are reasonable. I mean, you can get a really thorough training session in for under 90 minutes easily.
Oh yeah.
And asking some guy to do that 4 days a week with an extra conditioning session or two on top of that is like not a big time spent when you look at it. And so I think that's more of an excuse than anything for a lot of guys. I hear it a lot, like, oh, I got to spend time with this. And I get it. Like, you need family time. That's very important. It should be a priority. But like you said, you've got to work. You're not presenting the best package that you possibly can, and so bring that and put that work in and become that better man, that best package you can possibly present.
Yeah,
To be a better
it's like
service.
you're front loading time, like you're investing in something that's going to make you a better spouse and a better father. And yeah, like off the rip, like obviously it looks like, oh, it's an hour less time, 3 or 4 days a week, but in the end, it's going to make the time that you do spend and the things you do with your family much higher quality. So I think a lot of the time people have a hard time kind of getting a grasp on the idea of like investing things, and they just think about like, hey, what's the immediate like cost or return on investment, as opposed to like, hey, how's this going to help me, in all these other ways? It seems kind of vague to people. So I think it's really important for people to understand. Yeah, you're like front loading investment to make yourself better in the future and make yourself fulfill your duties better.
Yeah, that you hit it right on the head right there. That's what can you say to a guy that's on the fence? Man, it's more than it's like this is about more than just yourself. It's this is like a rightly ordered way to approach your life. God, family, and nation, and those three things together require you to be strong.
100%, dude. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, dude, I really appreciate you doing this with me, man. It
was my pleasure, Randy.
Yeah, it's been amazing, dude.
Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do an in-person one sometime, man. We'll have like a whole setup, fancy looking.
Dude, that'd be cool with the microphones. We can sit back and like.
Yeah, and like I'll do some product placement, like maybe I'll have some supplements in the background and some AG, sponsored by AG1.
This episode brought to you by Zen.
Yeah, actually, it actually is, dude. I'm still on the threes, dude. I'm still a baby. People still make fun of me for the threes, but I'm like, hey, it's not a flex that you need. Yeah, like it's not a flex that you need a ton of nicotine to feel anything.
That is admittedly one of the pitfalls that I've fallen into, because I rock sixes like all the time.
So every once in a while, I'll pack 2 threes, and then I get like 10 minutes into it, and I'm just like, oh.
Well, dude, there's a guy at my gym that he runs like these. Lucy is some brand, is another brand of pouch, and they're like 12s. And he's like, hey, you want a pouch? He's like, sure. I didn't look at the can. I popped it in, and like 5 minutes later, I was like, I took it out. I was like, I can't.
Yeah, you're like escaping the matrix too quickly.
Yeah. That's too much. I was like, how do you do that? Do you rock this all day? He's like, yeah, like all day, back to back. I'm like, that's too much, man.
Terminal velocity. Well, that's just like pre-workout. Like it gets to the point where now that's your baseline. So you have to like detox from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like dopamine detox, dude. I mean, that's a thing too, right? Where you like intentionally stop yourself from going and scrolling and getting cheap dopamine. And that's another big thing too. Like, I mean, I know we've talked about that, and that's a huge topic, like in our circles, in, kind of like, I don't know what you call it, like, the sort of circles that we run in is like people being addicted to pornography, addicted to scrolling, and like just getting these fake sources of dopamine. It's like, it's like fast food. So, our dopamine is supposed to be like this reward system or this motivation system, but it's sort of been hijacked by modern conveniences. Like fast food is giving you that salt, fat, and sugar that used to be something that was like a very rare and high reward thing. And then the same thing with like, pornography is fake sex. And then like scrolling is fake entertainment, like fake success, really, like fake dopamine.
Yeah. Well, it's like you can get into those. I know some people that are like on the really far end of like doom scrolling, and they'll be watching all these like motivational video. They watch a lot of motivational content because they think that's going to take them to the next level. Yeah. I mean, I was there. I used to watch a lot of that stuff of like motivational speakers and like all these like, text videos telling you about how to be better and all this stuff. And you watch like a lot of that and you consume a lot of it, and you think you can like trick yourself into thinking like, okay, I'm like that. That's me. I do that. And you're really like, you're not. That's not.
Well, you're getting the dopamine, like you're getting the dopamine hit from consuming the content. So it's giving you the same feeling as if you were accomplishing that thing without actually doing that thing. And that's something that I don't remember who initially told me about that, but it makes sense. There's a lot of people that will sign up for like, seminars, like Tony Robbins seminars, like this, like get rich kind of things. And like, but they never actually execute and do the thing. But it's because they're getting that sense of satisfaction or that sense of accomplishment from saying like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. And it's kind of the same idea.
I get that feeling from selling a customer a bunch of huge trees. And I write the ticket for them, they pay for it, and it's awesome.
But that's real. No, that's real success zone. Just like the gym, like that's real. That's, quote, real dopamine. Like you're getting that benefit from doing something that's actually beneficial as opposed to like something that's fake, that's tricking you into thinking it's beneficial, right? Like your body's getting that reward from eating an Oreo that it's supposed to be getting from like eating an apple that you found because you've been trekking in the wild for 3 days.
Yeah.
But now it's
I
but now
trekked in
it's
the
just it's
wild for three
abundant and
days.
it's everywhere.
Yeah. To the Kroger, and I got myself triple stuffed Oreos.
Yeah. Well, I
I'm a
mean,
hunter.
every once in a while, like hunter gatherer.
That's the well, okay. So you kind of touched on an important thing too, is balance. Okay, so you can get guys that go hard in the training and they go on board and they're fully in, and they'll be hitting every single training session. They'll be 100% locked in on the nutrition all the time, to the detriment of like other things in their life. They'll have like no social interaction.
Yeah.
They'll have like uh, they'll go to like a family holiday party and they'll be like, oh, I can't eat the delicious casserole you made, grandma, because that's not on my meal plan. It's like, okay,
Too
hold
too
on,
locked
man.
in.
Like, dial it back about 10%, 15%, and you'll be all right.
Well, if your nutrition and training is 100% perfect outside of, regular life, you can afford those things. And that's kind of the benefit. But
yeah,
a lot of the times, like I had a client the other week ask me, hey, if I go out to lunch, with my friends or something, how should I adjust my nutrition for the rest of the day? And I'm like, don't, because the detriment of being so neurotic about it is going to be way worse than if you were to just like write it off and continue your meals. It's like when people, they'll have a cheat meal, like an unplanned cheat, and they'll feel guilty and then they'll starve themselves the next day. And then they end up in this like vicious circle. It's like, dude, just write it off and just keep going forward.
yeah, it's no big deal. You're like, because you've been so locked in, you can handle this. You can handle a cinnamon roll. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Well, before you were 10% locked in and 90% junk, and now you're 90% locked in so you can afford the 10% junk.
Yeah,
And it's because the whole point of this is it's supposed to integrate with your life and make your life better. It's not supposed to make your life harder. And maybe at first you have to be a little bit more crazy about it, but eventually you get to the point where you have to like find that balance.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Well, hey, awesome stuff, dude. Again, I appreciate you coming on, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, dude, have a good one.
I'm just gonna stop the recording. We can keep talking.
Stop recording. Stop.